Hello, welcome to another video. Lately I've been exploring the possibility of connecting 1980s computer hardware to the modern day internet. But can we really get online with such outdated hardware? In this video I'm going to show you how to connect using an early 80s TRS-80 Color Computer 1 with the Videotex terminal and a do-it-yourself Wi-Fi modem emulator that I built. Here's what you'll need. First, obviously, a 1980s computer. This is a Radio Shack TRS-80 Color Computer 1. You can see it's been very well loved, very well used. You also need a terminal software, which is this Videotex cartridge here. And then I'm going to also be using a Wi-Fi modem emulator. Now this is an original case for a dial-up modem that I modified with a microcontroller so that we can use Wi-Fi instead of a dial-up connection. The other thing that we'll need to use is a way to connect the modem to the computer. So the color computer has this 4-pin DIN connector, and I made up a cable here that has a DB9 connector so I can hook it up to my modem. I'll show you a little more about how I made this cable. And I'm thinking about another video I can talk about how to make one of these Wi-Fi modems. So I'm going to be connecting to a bulletin board system. And you might ask, wait, a bulletin board system, a BBS? I thought those were long gone. Well, I did too, but a few years ago I was surprised to discover there's actually a lot of BBSs still online. There's actually even brand new BBSs still being created. I'll put a link in the description, but you can visit telnetbbsguide.com to see the over 900 systems you can connect to. And there are a handful of them that still actually have dial-up service if you have a real modem. So, what is the color computer? Well, this was a computer sold by Radio Shack in the 1980s. They had a few different models of this. This one here is the Color Computer 1, which was made between 1980 and 1983. Now they're called the Color Computer, the Coco, the TRS-80, and sometimes the Trash 80. Like a lot of the computers from the 80s, it boots directly into BASIC, so you can do basic programming, but you can also load programs from cassette tape, floppy disk, or from cartridge, like our Videotex cartridge right here. So what is Videotex? Well, this is a terminal software from 1980. It was originally used to connect to subscription services like CompuServe over the phone line using a dial-up modem. I don't even want to imagine how much that would have cost back then. But you could also connect to bulletin board systems with it at a blazing fast speed of 300 baud. And we'll see here in a minute how fast 300 baud is. So I've got the Videotex cartridge plugged into the color computer, and I've got my Wi-Fi modem hooked up. And when you first turn it on, it boots up to this screen here. Now I didn't have the manual at first, so I was looking for some sort of setup screen. Apparently there isn't one. You just have to hit clear and then break. It'll say place call. Originally you'd actually dial the phone number for whatever BBS you want, but here I'll hit enter a couple times. Now that error is coming from the Wi-Fi modem. I just hit enter without typing anything. So what this Wi-Fi modem emulator does is it actually emulates Hayes modem AT commands. So the way we're going to connect to a bulletin board system is actually by using the telnet protocol, which is built into this. So we just do AT-DT, which AT means attention modem, DT means dial tone, I believe. But the BBS I want to connect to here is actually one of the newer ones that I have found. It's really simple and easy to log into. So this is bbs.retrocampus.com. And you hit enter. All right, so this BBS is nice. It gives you a handful of options for connecting with different screen resolutions and with echo or without echo. The color computer is a little tricky because the resolution on this screen is 32 by 15, and there's nothing that has 32 by 15. So to get this to actually connect, I'm going to use the number 8 selection there, which does a 22 by 23 screen, just so we can try to fit most of it on there. And you'll see with our 300 baud connect speed, this goes pretty darn slow. But it does actually work, and it looks pretty decent on here. Like a lot of original bulletin board systems, this has a chat function. So I'll hit T here. To your name, my name is Hi. See if there's any other users in there. I don't think anyone's on right now. There hasn't been a whole lot of people on lately. So, see users. No other users connected. All right. Well, I'm going to hit dot to go back. I'll see what else we can do on here. You'll notice while it's loading, I did actually wire up some of my lights on the modem to blink. So it's kind of a nice touch. Makes it feel a little more real. So unfortunately with this, the screen goes too far because it's doing a 23 rows, but this terminal actually only does 15 rows for the color computer, but I think it's option A is news. Yep, CNN News. But again, 300 baud connection speed, it's pretty darn slow. So let's do 101 to see what the top stories are. Oh, goody. So let's get out of here. And let's see if we can play a game. Well, it's going to take a minute to finish loading this again. All right, let's try Zork. Let's hit P on here. So now if you're not familiar with Zork, this is a text adventure game, and it describes where you are, and you have to look and move around. Let's go east. The door is boarded and you can't remove the boards. Okay, let's go back west. Let's go. Let's climb the tree. Oop. If I can type here. These chiclet keys are not the easiest to type on. All right, let's go north. Well, I think that's enough for Oop, there was no verb in that sentence. Let's see if it'll let me exit. No, let's quit. Ooh, I got a score of 0 in 5 moves. Yes, I wish to leave the game. And there we go. You can actually connect to these bulletin board systems with a modern computer. You can use Telnet, which works on newer computers in the command line. There's probably some other ways to do it too, but this one in particular you can actually connect to just from their website, bbs.retrocampus.com. Let's try one more, just for fun. Let's do ATDT bbs.postex.retrocampus.com. videotex.com. So this is the new level 29 BBS. There is some ASCII art here, but this is probably looking for 40 columns, so it doesn't show up quite right. It makes for an interesting pattern. Let's be a visitor. All right, we can actually set our real terminal size here. I can't remember if it's 15 or 16 rows, but let's go with 15. And it is definitely a dumb terminal. So I'm not sure of the history of this one, if this was an original one that got kind of remade, but this is a good, simple one to connect to. A lot of the BBSs you'll find on the Telnet BBS guide will require you to create a user account to log in. If you find one that you really like, that's actually a good idea. You can keep in touch with people, and you can do a little online social media other than, you know, Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, which is kind of nice with just this text-only interface. But let's see. Well, even though we set our screen size, it's still showing up a little off. Oh, so this is just showing us, I think, the most recent people who have logged in. All right, now we're at the main menu. So it is pausing every 15 lines so that we get to see everything that's on the screen, which is kind of nice. So yeah, this is mostly messages. I can't remember, there might be, I think there's some games that you can play if you do create an account to log in. But let's see if it'll, I'm gonna hit R to read a message. No, I guess it's not R. Oh no, I've hit A, read all messages. Well, I think I must have typed in the screen resolution not quite right. As we can see, it's still not loading exactly how it should. The Retro Campus one worked a little better. Well, I think that's enough for now for demonstration purposes. Let's quit. Go back to the main menu. I did have this working a little better when I actually logged in. I was able to read some messages and post some messages. I might try typing maybe a 30 by 15 because it still seems to not be quite fitting on there. Maybe it only supports 40 columns, I'm not quite sure. But if we hit O, we can log off here. Do I really want to log off? Yes, I do. All right, well, there you have it. We're connecting over Wi-Fi to bulletin board systems on the internet with a 1980s color computer one. Well, it's not perfect, but it is possible, and it's a lot of fun to play around with. So I do have other computers with better screen resolutions that I can connect to, and I might make some future videos on those. But for now, I think this was a pretty fun experiment. Here's the cable I made to connect the color computer up to the modem. This is the 4-pin side that goes to the color computer. You can buy these 4-pin connectors online. I think I got this on Amazon. If I pull the top off here, you can see it's just a few wires soldered up to the cups in here. And then the other end was just a pre-made DB9 end. For that, I actually used
just an extra 9-pin serial cable I had laying around, and I just cut the end off of one of them, and then I used a meter to check continuity between the pins I needed and the wires on the other end, so I knew which one was which. And I've got this one labeled here. This is RX to RX and TX to TX. That's what I use for the modem. If you had a cable that was already set up null, you could use one of these null modem adapters and plug this into here first, and then plug that into your modem, and that'll swap it around so it's wired the other way. I'll show you some resources I've used that I got from online. I'll apologize ahead of time. My microphone for Bluetooth for my screen capture is not great, but it works.
This is a PDF of the Color Computer 1 service manual. This is where when I first got this color computer, I noticed that the Coco does actually do RS-232. But, you know, unlike other IBM PC compatible type computers, it doesn't use a regular DB9 or DB25 connector. It uses this 4-pin connector. So the pin out is here. Again, this is the Color Computer 1 service manual. If you just Google it, you can download it from various places. But as far as using the Wi-Fi modem emulator that I have, the only pins that I have hooked up are RX, TX, and ground. I didn't have to bother with hooking up this CD line. This is on the RS-232 side. Again, the only 3 pins that I hooked up are pins 2, 3, and 5 of the DB9 connector, RX, TX, and ground. I did find on Cocopedia, this is the pin out to create a DriveWire 4 cable. The DriveWire is something that I just recently started looking into. You can actually use the serial port to connect to your desktop computer and use it as a floppy drive emulator. So that's pretty cool. I might do a video on that at some point. So this here is showing hooking up TX to RX and RX to TX. The cable I made for them, so this would be a null setup, I believe. The cable that I made, I hooked TX directly to TX and RX directly to RX. If you already had the DriveWire cable, you could still use it with a modem. You would just have to use a null modem adapter. I also wanted to show you, here's the Telnet BBS guide that I was talking about. You can see they currently have 915 BBSs, and that's just what's on this list. There's probably others that exist, but you can view the list of them. Most of them you can connect to through Telnet, so these are just Telnet only ones. But there are some you can connect to through SSH, which is more secure, and there's a handful that you can still connect to with a dial-up modem. I do have a dial-up modem, but I don't have a phone line anymore. I have used a Bluetooth phone line emulator with my cell phone before, and I was able to dial in to some of these BBSs, but it didn't quite work right. So if eventually I find a solution for doing that, I might do a video on that as well. But anyways, thanks for watching. Have fun.